Welcome to Prime Suspects. Alongside Adam Bjorn and Prime Sports co-founder Joe Brennan Jr., I'm your host, Matt Landis. And guys, fresh off of Bet Bash, would love to get your takes on the best parts of the conference and any big opportunities for improvement, starting with Adam.
The wine tasting, clearly the best thing, the best panel. It trumped everything. I even had Spanky sending me a message Monday morning, that his wife had tasted the wine and he was ordering a case. I'm sure I'll screw this up, but the Honig honey wine, dessert wine, whatever it was, best wine I've ever tasted. And yeah, that was the hit of the entire Bet Bash. Besides that, I mean, there was a lot of people. The speed networking room was full. A lot of rookies is what I noticed. Most of my conversations were people that were either first timers or maybe second timers. $200-$300 bettors, felt like they were out of their place with small bankrolls and stuff like that, and just sort of tried to support them and say we all started there. That's ultimately what I got out of it, was a lot of people coming into this space, a lot of people with small bankrolls looking to grow them. Ideally, that's great for us because we're here to, arbors, all comers, to sort of build up their bankrolls through betting with us and the other sports books or prediction markets or sweeps or whatever we're calling them all these days. But yeah, all in all, a good week, good Hall of Fame. Caught up with Spiro. I hadn't seen him in probably 15 years. From what I understand, it was a nice, quick Hall of Fame dinner and speeches versus some 4 or 5 hour stories I heard from last year. Jeff Whitelaw did try and extend it a little bit longer than it needed, but again, all in all, a good week.
Joe, same question for you. And as part of the answer, please go ahead and tell us about the panel in which you participated, including a summary of any noteworthy discussion points and key takeaways from that event in particular.
Well, I know it's the same thing that Adam did. A lot of newbies, not only on the betting side, but a couple of new guys who are looking to start either betting exchanges or things like that. So it's good to see young blood coming in and kind of unafraid to step into the room with the big boys, and then as always, it's good to see a lot of people that, known for years. I think this is the best thing in the industry. I mean, these are the people who pay our bills, and the opportunity to spend a few days. I mean, I wish it was longer and I wish they were more frequent than once a year, but it was outstanding. And then again, on the Hall of Fame thing, and despite Jeff Whitelaw definitely trying to push Mikey Palm's over under on the ceremony at 2 hours and 37 minutes, he was unable to do so. So well done, Mikey Palm from Circa. As far as the panel, it was me and two guys in their 20s talking about prediction markets, talking about exchanges, and talking about sweeps. I was there to be old man, old school sports book. All I really wanted to do, since this is a players conference, it's like, okay, well, what does all this stuff mean to the players? And my theme was just basically, hey guys, make hay while the sun shines. Use all of these. Definitely, we love it if you guys not only use us, but also use the exchanges, use sweeps, use prediction markets, whatever, particularly you arbors, if it helps drive, volume for us with the arbors, hey, outstanding, in that it's a very simple business, try and take out more money than you put in. So that was my take. Now, Jacob from Novig, next to me, wanted to go into a different place, and maybe to a lesser extent, Alex from Sport Trade, which is they wanted to argue the merits of their model over our model. And, we're better and we're this. And you know what? Okay, good. Youthful enthusiasm is fantastic. I'm all for it. Believing in what you're doing, I'm all for it. But I'm like, okay, guys, after the first or second redirect while I'm trying to be the nice guy, it's like, do we really want to do this in front of the kids? Okay, let's do it. And my big takeaway is, again, I'm not trying to be negative to anybody, but the only thing I said was like, I think you guys right now have a product that maybe has excessive complexity, especially when it comes to the nomenclature. Everybody's talking about their bids and their asks, and they want to make it like Wall Street, and I need a Bloomberg terminal in order to do it. And somehow Jacob thinks that, this is the first time in history that sharps have been able to do price discovery against one another. I leaned over to Patrick from Vegas Insider. I said, because sharps never do price discovery on sharp sports books. We never see any of that, do we? And so I get it. Like, everybody's enthusiastic about their new model. Let the players concentrate on where should their money be going. And in the meantime, I do think that maybe those guys ought to be better students of history because their model is been done. Okay. It's been around for a long time. For however long Betfair has been around, we've had exchanges. We have plenty of them: Matchbook, BetDeck, Betfair, plenty of exchanges. So there's very little that's new under the sun. You look at the prediction markets, they're not particularly new, their product. I did redirect a story where Alex was talking about product, and the story that he tells about his sister suddenly taking interest. He selectively didn't talk about the end, which he told me the story before, which is she was attracted to the graphs. I think everybody thinks that those graphs on Kalshi are great. I wish we had them, because they're really great visuals for soft players. But let's reduce the complexity of their product. They tried to say we're not excessively complex. Okay, but they are. And let's reduce the complexity of the nomenclature. They said it wasn't. Okay, whatever. The big thing here is this. When you go to a good old school sports book, as old school as we are, you can always get a bet down. You don't have to worry about, is somebody going to match my thing on the other side? And that's really the advantage that we have. But in the meantime, it was fun. I really love Bet Bash. I always regret leaving, although usually by the time I get to my fourth, fifth day in Vegas, that's time for a Vegas square like me to head home, because I can kind of feel my soul getting sucked out of my body.
And Joe, with those 4 or 5 days focused so much on hearing from players, how would you describe perhaps your top takeaway from speaking with so many bettors throughout the course of the conference, and how you would like to see Prime and some of the colleagues you've got across the space act accordingly in service of the players?
I was really disappointed to see that there were so few people from actual operators there. There's a couple that snuck in from Fan Kings and also BetMGM. I won't out them who they were, because I think they might have been there without their boss's permission. And they certainly weren't coming in wearing their brand t-shirt, because God knows they probably would have been mauled by the lions there. But I really do think that regardless of whether you think that you would be treated harshly by the players that are there, or if you think that they're not typical compared to the majority of the marketplace, and there's an argument to say that, yeah, maybe they aren't typical of the greater marketplace out there. It really does behoove an operator or anybody connected to this industry to get down there and listen to this, because this is the sharp end of the stick when it comes to the people who pay our bills, which are the players. And I extend that criticism to lawmakers and regulators and others, because it's amazing the number of decisions that are being made right now that are going to directly affect the player and the player's participation and the amount of participation in this marketplace and where their money goes, because it's their money. But there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of people besides us and a handful of others like Novig, like Sporttrade, like BetCris Arizona, that are taking the time to go out there and actually listen to the player.
Well, from Bet Bash at Circa Las Vegas to big news for Circa out of Missouri, Circa getting an untethered license in the Show Me State. Adam, what's your take on the pretty big upset of Circa beating out FanDuel for one of those 2 untethered licenses?
I don't know. It feels like a bit of a Homer decision, no? A couple of American sports getting those accesses. I don't know what kind of state it is. I imagine it's a little on the rosy colored side. But yeah, I mean, one of the big guys, one of the little guys, however you want to put it. From what I saw, a few snippets of, how Derek approached this was they have a customer base with their casino loyalty program. So it's not like they're going in there cold. But no, this is a good result. You get 2 very vastly different sports books. Not that it probably matters so much to Circa, because hitting that minimum guarantees and, not having a rev share, they probably don't make up the difference anyway. But obviously for DraftKings, it's a big save for them getting that untethered license, paying a bit more up front, but obviously no rev share included in that. FanDuel, it won't matter for them. I mean, they have all the money in the world. They'll just continue on. They've already got their partner. They'll go live and it'll go on as is. But I think finally a state making a good decision for, the players across the board, giving a bit of a variance rather than just the 1-2 punch at the top of the tree.
And Joe, Adam alluded to the fact that shortly after the decision was announced, FanDuel announced it received a tethered license through the MLS club St. Louis City SC. Tell us a bit about the dynamic between tethered and untethered licenses in terms of what that means for operators, and give us your point of view on how much losing out on the untethered license may or may not ultimately matter for FanDuel.
Well, first of all, I'll echo a couple of things that Adam said. I think this is the best possible result for Missouri. This way they ensured that they got, 3 operators rather than just 2. I wonder whether Circa would have been able to go in if they had to have a local partner and chop up their commercials with a local partner, especially given the kind of product that they offer versus what the other guys do. So FanDuel, they definitely have the money to be able to do this. They can handle the rev share on this. And I don't know, that whole thing about it, maybe a red state sticking it to a non-American company. I think we might have discussed that in the corner booth there at Saginaw's that morning. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of that played into it as well. But when you think about it, the advantage that DraftKings and FanDuel, or that, oh God, I'm so used to saying those two guys. I got to get used to it, right? What do we call it? Like, Draft Circa now? I mean, the real juggernaut going to be there. But, the things that the DraftKings and Circa aren't going to have to worry about is the care and feeding of their local relationship through market access. That's a thing that some states, it's easy. Some states, not quite as easy when it comes to dealing with your local partner there. That really is the biggest thing. And yeah, right now, the fee for the untethered license is a little higher up front, but with that rev share, if you're assuming that you're going to be in business for 10 years, 20 years, whatever it may be, wind up being far more expensive going the tethered route than it is the untethered route. But in the end, we were cheerleading ahead of time for this one. I'm still stunned that they pulled it off, but congratulations to those guys, and I hope to see them do really well.
From sportsbooks to prediction markets, Kalshi has self-certified to offer NFL spreads, totals, and player props. And shortly before this recording, we got news Robinhood is entering the pro and college football prediction markets as well. Joe, what's your perspective on what this means, including Kalshi's ability to self-certify and that juxtaposition against the NBA and NBA Players Association jointly coming out against player props?
So, I mean, this is the way of the world right now because CFTC has essentially kind of taken a hands-off thing. And so Kalshi is, they're using the rope that's being given to them. All right, look, I'm sorry. I can't help but chuckle a little bit at self-certification. Oh my God, if I got to grade my own papers, I would have gone to Harvard or better, right? Notre Dame. So this getting to grade your own work and, whether it's ready for the marketplace, it's definitely bold. I can see why Kalshi's taking advantage of it, and then Robinhood as well. The one thing that I would be concerned about is Kalshi moving too quickly for their long-term good? I mean, okay, right now, the CFTC is regulating by not regulating. Let's all agree that that's really what this is. The CFTC has taken, and has said they're going to take, a hands-off approach. Now, for the short term, that's great. Kalshi, Robinhood, Polymarket, all those guys, they kind of get to run wild, but I think Kalshi's running maybe a little too wild for their own good when it comes to the other side of the action, which is Nevada, Maryland, and New Jersey are all chasing them down in the federal courts. And it's very difficult for them to make the case that they're not doing sports betting when they are doing exactly the models that are sports betting. It makes me think of, the DFS days when they first really started getting off the ground, is that everybody was very careful with nomenclature. People weren't making bets, they were making entries, things like that. And the other thing is that fantasy sports at least had the benefit of having been the distinction between what constitutes a sports bet and what constitutes fantasy sports defined in the 2006 Unlawful Gambling Enforcement Act. So they could always fall back on that. Right now, Kalshi and they don't have really anything that they can fall back on. This is it's like interpreting scripture. Everybody has their own interpretation, and CFTC's not stepping up. So right now, I worry that Kalshi could be, giving themselves enough rope to hang themselves by getting out ahead, by being too aggressive and not having either the federal courts or an act of Congress to expressly define what they're doing and then expressly permit what they're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, this is kind of messy. And as far as Robinhood saying like, oh, we're better because these are prediction markets, it's not betting, like that's a distinction without a difference.
We might come back to that later to tug at that thread just a bit more. But first, Adam, want to bring you into this segment as well. What do you think this news means for both bettors, also known as event contract participants, as you could say, as well as operators outside the prediction market space?
Boy, if only we were a sweeps. I mean, investing, betting, gambling. I wish I had have said I was a professional investor 20, 30 years ago. I might have had less headaches with the banks and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's just become a comedy show for me. You've got for, I don't know, 20 something years, the AGA and all this attack of the offshore, and now the offshore is in their own backyard, and now they have prediction markets, and I've kind of just lost track of what it is. For the bettors, for the punters, it's just another place. I mean, it's literally, I don't know how many states it is. It was 50. Is it still 50? Is it 48? Is it 47? I've lost track. And I don't think bettors really care. I mean, it's when you're signing up and things like that, how many people are from Alabama when you get to that top state in the sign-up tool of, I'm lost for words. It's becoming America. This is what America is. And mayhem and people doing what they want to do. So it's great for the bettors. I mean, for us as a book, it doesn't hurt us because it just means more arbors, more education, more things like that. So, lean into it. I'll have their screens up as much as anybody others on a Sunday live trading golf and let the players at it. It's just crazy.
Joe, it sounded like maybe you wanted to jump in when Adam had mentioned this being a positive for a book like Prime, when it could mean more arbors in play.
Oh, no, I think it is. Let's get down to it. For players, this is great. And players have never had more options to get down on this stuff, and they just keep growing. I think this is something that maybe state lawmakers ought to sit up and notice the next time they feel like, ratcheting up, the tax rate, or saying like, hey, why don't we do away with prop bets? And like, well, great, guys. And all right, well, somebody else is just going to offer them. And we no longer have to say it's the boogeyman down in the Costa Rican mountain jungles. Right now, it could be the kids in Silicon Valley and still Silicon Alley, right? So this is not like some empty threat that's going on here. But if you're a player, I mean, these are fantastic days, aren't they?
And let's wrap up the show with a two-part jump ball here. Joe, this is where we'll tug a bit more to thread you teased earlier. Wanted to get your guys' reaction to Robinhood's positioning that their offering now is unlike sports betting because, quote, buyers and sellers interact to set the price, as well as any thoughts on how competitive you think Robinhood can be in this space, given Kalshi's apparent head start.
That's utter horseshit. Buyers and sellers don't interact in our market at all, do they? Right? I don't know if it's that they are legitimately ignorant of the way sports betting works, or if they're just being cynical and lying about it. Look, what they're saying, again, it's a distinction without a difference. Okay? They can call it prediction markets. And what was the euphemism that we had for bettors before, Adam? What did you say it was? Like prediction contract market participants?
Oh, I threw out the phrase event contract participants if calling them bettors might ruffle any feathers for the wrong crowd.
It was like when my old man, when I was a kid, because they still pump your gas in New Jersey, right? Used to call them like, well, those guys, those are petroleum transfer engineers, right? They're not the guy that pumps your gas. And that's all it is. It's like, let's see how much nomenclature we can throw out there, right? To try and complicate this or engage in puffery of some sort, kind of like what the kids on my panel are like, oh, it's price discovery and this and that. Like, look, this is a very simple business. We're all doing the same thing. We are putting money down on what's the result of a sports contest or the individual performance of a player within that sports contest. We're trying to take more money out than what we put in. Everything else, okay, great. As long as you have the latitude to run with it, fine. But let's stop this bullshit of saying, like, with a straight face, Robinhood is somehow different than Prime. It's not, okay? I get it. As long as they say it with a wink, I guess. I could take it if they say it with a wink in their eye, the way the DFS guys used to do it. Then fine. But in the meantime, come on, guys, knock it off. It's horseshit.
Adam, anything to add to Joe's remarks on both Robinhood's positioning and its prospects to compete with Kalshi in the space?
Well, I don't know what episode we're in right now, but about 30, 35 episodes ago, I think they raised that Robinhood was probably one of the ideal competitors because they have the eyeballs. Once you have the eyeballs and they're looking to trade something, it's a click between a different tab and whatnot. So, I mean, the whole thing's just becoming farcical and comical. And I mean, I'm not a bettor, I'm a trader though. So let's see what happens.
Well, the funny thing is if you go back like another 30 episodes before that, and you had like, dare I raise his name, Sage Chris Grove saying like, oh, Robinhood is going to get into this. And, me, myself, and I poo-pooed that because I'm like, those are securities companies. They're not going to want the volatility, the blah, blah, blah. I just cannot get over the utter boldness and the daring of these guys to just push past laws and norms to offer this thing. You really got to say, wow, it's kind of a representative of the age that we're in as far as government, society, and everything. And it's amazing what you can accomplish if you're just willing to push past norms and laws and just stake your own way. So, who knows how this is all going to end up. But in the meantime, if you're a player, man, this is fantastic, isn't it?
And on that bright news for players, we will go ahead and wrap up this week's episode. To the audience, from another bet bash in the books, once again to rave reviews, to another market for Circa, courtesy of an untethered license in Missouri, and another big news week in the wild world of prediction markets. Thanks as always for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Prime Suspects. Register for Prime Sports at primesports.com and download the Prime Sports app. You can follow us on Twitter at @PrimeSuspects_, at Joe Brennan Jr., and at Adam Bjorn 2. You must be 21 or over to play on Prime Sports. Always bet responsibly and within your limits. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.